Thank you so much for tuning in to Exit Ready. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. We're going to unpack ways for you to make your company more valuable so that when you get ready to exit, you can get the most money possible. Now to the show. Okay, Brad, well, it's good to have you on today, man. Give a quick introduction for those who don't know about you. I don't know who couldn't possibly know, but maybe someone hasn't heard about the legend that you are. So tell them who you are.
Hey Ryan, thanks for having me on. Brad Smith here, Wilmington, North Carolina. We've been doing marketing for going on 10 and a half years now.
Man.
I've seen it from Google ads, the Facebook ad, revolution to all the, crazy changes. The one thing I did skip was the TikTok stuff. No dancing for me. But been doing marketing. My wife and I are co-owners of our company. We've got this cool office here to help us with our YouTube content, hiring locally, and just helping people out. Get their name seen, help them grow their brand, and get them some sales.
Yeah, and obviously we're going to talk about branding and stuff like that. And I do want you to unpack or get your thoughts at least on founder led brands versus company brands because when I'm talking to owners about creating more value in their company, sometimes having the founder led brand can bring in more sales, but does that help them when they go to exit because everything's tied to them? So, do you have any thoughts on like, okay, hey, if you're going to do founder led branding to bring in more sales, can you transition out of that? Do you have to get to a certain size? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, everyone, and I'm actually transitioning away from my personal brand this year. As everyone's moving towards it, I'm stepping back to put more focus into the business brand. But I'm not going to stop my brand completely because I've got a large following on YouTube and on LinkedIn. So, what I'm doing is I'm taking my personal brand and pushing those people to Automation Links, my company. So, instead of messaging back and forth in the DMs, messaging back and forth in the comments, I'm not doing that anymore. Automation Links is now starting to do that. And I think if you're going to exit, I tried selling my business 3 years ago, and that was something every buyer was really hung up on was that I was the face. People were hiring Automation Links for Brad Smith. No one even knew the name. So what we're doing is we're putting more branding into the business now. It's funny because I've been doing personal branding for too long, right? And everyone's finally getting on board, and I'm stepping back and saying, no, if I ever want to sell or even be trusted, you have to have that business brand as well.
Yeah, I think it's important because a lot of owners need revenue, they need sales. That's what people sell in the marketplace. How to increase your revenue. But when you go to exit, if your company is everyone around Brad Smith, it's like, well, what? Wait, who's going to pick up the phone and call this company? They can't remember the name. Brad was tied to that. Like, what happens? And so it is something that you have to think about. It could be a good launching point to help get those sales up there. And then as the revenue goes, slowly starting to pivot away into more of a corporate brand. And people say, well, we don't like corporations, and no one's going to be Gary Vee. But Gary Vee has a huge company, right? And he did that on the
Yeah.
back of a personal brand, but he was very smart in how he pivoted. His offer was to his staff, not to him, unless you're paying a really high premium. And so there are ways to do that, but you do kind of have to be careful about it. So you're going more toward the corporate brand. That's interesting. I didn't know that before we started to hit record. So, what made you? Was it
Yeah.
trying to sell the business that made you go that path, or did you see a market trend, or what made you go that way? Because trust is what everyone says, and so you're saying, okay, I want to go to Automation Links is my company. So, what made you make that switch?
About a year and a half ago is when I really started diving into ChatGPT and trying to show up for ChatGPT. And I started realizing that people were searching for services, not for my name. So when I was trying to get my name ranked on ChatGPT, I'm like, no one knows me yet. No one cares. So I need to start putting focus towards these service offerings that we have. And that's when I started realizing that, hey, people are just reaching out to me and they are not calling my team. So everything's relying on me at the end of the day. So I said, we have to make a pivot. I'm seeing more and more business brands starting to work. And I'll explain that in a minute because of these new searches, these new ways people search, and the new way businesses are ranked. So I think there's two differences on the personal brand. There's an entertainer and an educator. Entertainer is going to get thousands and millions of views, right? But that doesn't necessarily bring in the customers. People remember, there's people online that dance on TikTok or that post on X, and they only post to try to go viral. They call it shit posting, right? Or you've got the educator, and the educator is the one that's bringing in the actual business. You're doing this right now with your podcast. You're educating an audience. So now they're going to see Ryan's educating, but I need to know that I'm not going to be working with Ryan. I'm not going to be working with Brad, that I'm going to actually go around them because they're speaking and educating to go reach out to their business and their brand. So instead of saying, I'm going to go work with Brad, I just know Brad is the educator. I have to go work with his company. And that goes along with your Gary Vee example. I know I would never, Gary Vee wouldn't help me with my marketing. I know I would have to go to his company. And it's the way he talks and positions it. And that's where I'm making that change. And I think a lot of people that don't want to get on camera, maybe don't want to have a personal brand, I think they go that route as well.
Sorry, my phone was ringing there. I got to put it on airplane mode. You said you cut out. A lot of people don't want to get camera, and then the phone rings, so it's on airplane mode now. Go ahead, finish what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of people don't want to have a personal brand, but they're doing it
Yeah,
just because they think they need to. You don't
yeah,
have
and
to show your face.
right. Well, and that's the thing where when I'm talking to an owner, it's like, okay, are you building a lifestyle business, what we call a lifestyle business, or are you building one that you want to sell? You have to know the game that you're playing. And so if you're going to play a game to where you don't ever want to sell it, that's fine. That's a lifestyle business, great. But don't get to the fourth quarter, 2 minutes to go, and you go, I want to sell, and then people are like, well, there's nothing to buy here. And so you got to understand the game you're playing. And if you want to transition from a lifestyle business to a sellable one, it kind of sounds like what you're talking about. It takes years to then reposition the company so that people feel comfortable with buying it. So it's very. I mean, I think everything you're saying here is I love it because it fits with all this stuff. Now you mentioned brand and ads. You talk a lot about ads. Um, I've boosted a post on Facebook years ago, so I've ran a little bit of ads, but I've always shied away from them because with me, ads are. I don't know, like, what's the best platform to run ads? Should I hire an agency? I don't even know anything about ads. So, like, help me understand what it's not that I don't want to do them. It's just I don't want to waste a bunch of money doing them because I've talked to groups and they're like, well, the ads might work. It's like, well, okay, $10,000 for might work. That's not. I appreciate the honesty, but that's also a risk. So, how do you even start the process of trying to figure out if ads are for you, and what's the best platform right now for ads?
I think, people think of ads in one way, and we think of them in another way. And I think our way is obviously better. So when you think of ads, you're thinking, I need to post an ad, tell somebody to click on something, and I need them to buy it right then. That's how everyone thinks of ads. And when they go and spend $1,000 on those ads and they don't make $1,000 in sales, they say ads don't work. I wasted my money, right? I think of ads on the opposite spectrum. Ads are to keep me top of mind and remind people about me that I've already brought into my ecosystem. So I always say, do not run ads until you have some sort of audience. Let's just say 1,000 people a month to your website, right? The average website gets a 0.01% conversion rate. How many people have been on your website the last 30 days? Do you know?
Not enough to run ads based upon those metrics. So, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think you need to build up an organic system. You need to have, your business generating some income. You need to have enough people coming to your website. You need to know, okay, 1,000 people come to my website and only one person filled out a form. Those conversion rates aren't very good. So instead of running ads to say, hey, come back to my website and buy, I'm running ads to say, hey, here's a YouTube video to watch. Here's a piece of education. Hey, don't forget about automation links. You were just on my site. And when you're ready to buy, then you're right there. You're the click. They know exactly where to go click. Now, by the way, those ads are cheaper as well. When I go and say, hey, Facebook, take somebody off of Facebook and send them to my website to buy, Facebook's going to charge me a lot of money. But when I say, hey, Facebook, just show my video to someone, keep them on Facebook. Just remind them of my company over and over and over. They can stay on Facebook all they want. Those are pennies per click. And they're going to remember to hire me when they're finally ready.
Yeah, two things stand out there. When I was doing a bunch of lead gen work for people, I used to tell them that sales is the right offer to the right prospect at the right time. And if you're top of mind all of the time, you have the chance of being the right time, right? So you got to nail the ICP, you got to nail the offer, but you got to stay front of mind because people will just forget about you. I would be retired now if everyone who told me, oh, if I just, oh man, I forgot that you existed 2 weeks ago, 2 days ago, the day after we talked, someone else called, I'd be retired. That's just how it goes. So you got to get
Exactly.
the ICP in the offer and then staying top of mind. Is there, and the other thing is you mentioned the conversion rate. I had a client one time and they focused on conversion rate optimization for companies. And I can't remember the number now, but she told me unless your website has, I can't remember the traffic. It was significant traffic. It really doesn't matter as much as people might think it does because, if you get one click or 2 clicks, okay, cool. But you have to have a ton of traffic to really start worrying about conversion rate optimization. Otherwise, you spend a lot of time focusing on those 1,000 people going from one buyer to two. It's like, okay, you doubled your buyers, I get it, but really you need the traffic just to increase. And that goes to a debate that I'm curious your thoughts on about. Some people preach go viral, get a bunch of people in, and then they go through the funnel. Some people say no, hammer your niche, and then your niche will produce a better audience. And so then when they're ready to buy, they think of you. So where do you land on that debate?
So it goes right back to the educator versus the entertainer. Less is more. And you don't have to, I feel like going viral would hurt me. I actually had a Twitter post go viral and hardly made any sales from it. A couple sales. But that's another thing. A lot of people go viral, they get them to where they want them to go, but they don't have that follow up in place to remind them to come back. So they lost all that traction from going viral. What I want is 100 people to see me or my company, learn something from me. And then next time they log in, they see me again, learn something. And then a week from then, see me, learn something. And then in a month, they're like, oh, I got a guy that does that.
Right.
Um, and I mean, you have to imagine everyone that hears about you for the first time is probably in their car, sitting at a red light on their phone. The light turned green and they leave and they never remember you again. And that's
Yeah.
where I really feel like you don't need a big budget for ads. You need a small budget just to remind people about you. $5 a day just to stay top of mind. And that's when
Mm.
the sales really start coming in.
And the other thing I think that maybe owners, if they haven't done a lot of content, don't realize is that like right now I'm using Ecamm to record this software. And Ecamm allows me to hook my iPad up, draw my iPad, record that, and produce it. And you might hate my videos, but it's easy to do. Whereas 5, 10 years ago, you had to like figure out how to do all this stuff. It's so much easier to make a lot of content, to figure out what resonates with your audience today because the tools can make this process so much easier. So if you're hearing this, you're going, "Oh, it's a lot of work." Yeah, I'm not saying it's no work, but it is
Yeah.
easier than it was just a handful of years ago, and that kind of gets lost too because right now people are saying, "Well, it's all AI slop." It's like, well, if you want to be a human and do the work, it's actually so easier than it was, and AI can help you in certain ways. And you mentioned ChatGPT, um, and so obviously that's probably the right now almost like Kleenex is the word for tissue. ChatGPT is the word for AI. I don't know if that will last or not. Ryan Dozier came on. He thinks Gemini is going to be the big winner, but and I think there's some reasons for that. But ChatGPT owns the marketing space for that. So ranking in ChatGPT can really help you. And I've noticed that when if I ask ChatGPT something and it gives me a video of someone or a blog of someone, I just kind of assume, like with Google, that it's the best just because ChatGPT told me. I don't have a reason for that. It's just ChatGPT said. So how do you rank for that? How do you get into their ecosystem so that when someone searches or types up a prompt for your service that you appear there?
And if you guys stick with us a little bit longer, we're going to be talking about something crazy about ChatGPT coming up. Um, I personally think this is good news for businesses that don't want the personal brand and don't want to get on video. I've talked to so many people. Yeah, you do all these YouTube videos, Brad. You have time for that. I don't have time for that. I just knew I had to make time for that, right? But with ChatGPT is you don't have to make videos. You don't have to be dancing on TikTok. You don't have to use AI and write your thoughts out for this huge article on LinkedIn anymore. You just have to take the right steps to build authority with your brand, not your personal brand. So I think ChatGPT is going to be the easiest for a business to conquer if they start now and do it right, because they don't have to do all this video content anymore. They don't have to make all these crazy social media posts. They don't have to take all this time. They just need to build the authentic content, which I'll talk about next.
Yeah. And before we get
And
into that, yeah, before we get into that, I want to press it on the ads just a little bit more because we were talking offline. Someone was telling Roberto Blake, who I got some YouTube advice from, and part of the advice he was telling me about at the end of our conversation was YouTube ads. And what he told me really blew my mind because I was like, oh, and I didn't pay him for that. He was telling me about that, and I was like, I'm going to come back to you to understand YouTube ads because if I understand correctly, and you tell me if I'm wrong, when you watch a YouTube ad, I guess it's a certain percentage of time they have to watch before YouTube charges you, which means, if I understand correctly, that you could run a bad ad, for lack of a better term, and you're not being charged, but you are staying top of mind. Obviously, a great ad is going to cost you more because people will watch it, but you talk about staying top of mind. Is there a way to play that YouTube game to where you don't make the best ad ever, but you're there all the time? Because I see a lot of bad ads on YouTube. I'm like, how are these companies making money off of these stupid ads? These are terrible. So, did I understand correctly? Is that a play for owners to make?
that's a play. And I love YouTube. That's where I get my best leads from YouTube. And the same thing is you have to think about it as I'm not using YouTube ads to show a picture and get them to click and buy from me. What I'm saying is the targeting here, Ryan, is insane. If someone visits my website, they watch another one of my YouTube videos. I could even set it up so if they watch your videos, they'll see mine next. So as an example, if somebody watches an Alex Hermosi YouTube video, I'm recommended as on the side. And I'm purposely can pay to be there. And I only get charged if they click and watch my video. And I'm not even making YouTube videos for the ads. I'm just showing my normal videos so they keep learning from me. So now you're getting super targeted traffic, people that have been on your website, people that are searching for your competitors and watching their videos. And they're like, who's this person on the side? I'm going to go learn from them. And I love the education videos on YouTube, and you just pay for when they start watching.
Well, and if we go back to what I was saying about right offer, right prospect, right time. So if you understand the prospect, you understand your offer, you don't know when the time is. But I've told people this before. When you go buy a cell phone, it's not that the people in the cell phone store are the world's greatest salespeople. It's the right time.
Yeah.
You need a phone or you want a phone, and they say, okay, here's your options. What do you want to go with? And you're like, well, maybe this. Well, and they kind of help you navigate the process, but the selling's already done.
Yep.
And part of this educational content is the selling is actually already done. You just don't know where the time comes in. And I hear a lot of talk about test your offer to see if it actually the market actually wants it or not. And what I always push back on that is most people don't really test the offer to enough people, right?
Yeah.
Because you could test a new car to 100 people and people go, oh, I don't want a new car. You think new cars are out. Okay, well, if
Yeah.
you test it to the entire U.S., you're going to find the true total addressable market for that. But we don't have the budget for that. So we're trying to balance between how many people need to see our offer, when do they want to buy it, and we don't know that information. And so tricks like this, or what I say tricks, but tactics like this
Yep.
are ways in which
This,
we can get in front of our ICP not knowing when they need us. It's like I help people get their business ready to sell. I don't know when they want that service. I know the day
yeah.
one founder probably ain't going to hire me, right? But that doesn't mean the 65-year-old owner is ready to do it either. I don't know. One of my clients right now is 45 years old, right? So you just don't know when people are in that mindset and when they're ready to position themselves. And so it's about time, a lot of this. And so the more places you can be in front of people to be for them to be reminded of you, your odds go up dramatically.
this is my best one. You ready? Brad, I've watched about 6 to 8 of your YouTube videos. I'm ready to get signed up. And you're going to start getting this. Ryan, I've watched 4, 5, 6 of your exit led YouTube podcasts. I think you're the person I should hire for this. You're the
Yeah,
person that I trust because they watch your videos. They've learned from you. They see that you have these other experts on. They've watched more than 4 or 5 videos. And in a year from now, when they're ready to sell, as long as they keep seeing your YouTube videos show
yeah,
up when they log in, like, hey, you're the person. And they just don't think of anyone else. They just think of you because you
yeah.
showed up. It's the same thing with remember when back in the day you had to take a prospect golfing or bring their
Oh yeah,
secretary
yeah,
donuts
yeah,
every week,
yeah. Yep, yep.
the 7 calls as the follow up. It's the same thing, but just easier. You're not even purposely trying to follow up. It's just you're educating automatically.
And the final point I'll make on this is I got an email from Whataburger right before we hopped on about a free giveaway today if you go buy this sandwich and this. And Whataburger doesn't know if I want a sandwich today or not, but they know they send an email out that someone does, and someone will take them up on it, and they probably know that once you go buy this, the odds are you're going to buy that, and you're going to come back, and you're top of mind. Even if I don't buy today from the ad, later in the week I might think of them. So the big companies have figured out how to stay in front of you, and so for small businesses, it's harder because we don't have the same budget, but we have to figure out how do we do this? And so when you're thinking about building a company, being valuable, founder-led, company-led, trying to make that transition, the ways in which you can stay in front of people make your sales process so much easier. And so we talked about education content because that is something that we both believe in, but ChatGPT content might be a little bit better because if they're searching, how to run ads on, YouTube or whatever, and you come up, or how to exit your business and I come up, then they're probably ready to buy right then or really close. And ChatGPT is like a referral because we do know in sales that if I say go hire Brad and someone trusts me, they go hire Brad or at least talk to Brad, right? Well, ChatGPT is like a referral partner.
22% more trust than Google search. That was the most recent number I saw. That somebody, especially like the average person that's not in the business world, if I go and look on Google for New York pizza near me, or if I ask ChatGPT best New York pizza near me, I trust ChatGPT's recommendation 22% more than Google's recommendation. That obviously probably goes up or down, but that trust factor there for your potential customer, like it's about to be a hidden gold mine. The gold rush is here.
Yeah, well, it's funny because if I'm grilling on the grill, I got a pit boss, and so I'll say, okay, this is the meat. I got a pit boss. How long? Give me the temperatures, and then if it's not right, I'll say, okay, this is where I'm at. This is how long I've been, and it will just update me continually because I'm like, oh, that's better than finding a blog and reading the blog, and the
Yep.
blog only gives me like the steps. And if those steps don't work for some reason, I don't know what to do with ChatGPT. It's an interactive process, and so if you're saying, well, how do you exit? Oh, okay, you talk to this person. You're like, well, before I do that, what about this? And so if it's creating that constant referral. So, what are some of the ways in which we can get ChatGPT to recognize us as an authority?
So there's some indexing methods, right? It looks at your overall brand across all the networks. They're called backlinks, and it's very overwhelming for people. But what it means is whatever you want that person that searches, however you want that to show up. So how to grill a burger on a Blackstone grill. So you would want to create a bunch of content about how to grill a burger on a Blackstone grill, whatever that answer is. And what you need to do is publish that answer on as many networks as you can. Reddit is the most popular. YouTube is the second most popular. Your blog, LinkedIn articles, X articles. This is overwhelming for someone. So what I always recommend is you make that one piece of content. You could just write something. You could record an audio. I tell everyone, just turn the audio recorder on your phone, answer that question that you want to show up as the answer for, and get a virtual assistant to print it on every single network. It is very overwhelming. It is a lot of work. I don't know if it's going to get easier, but for a couple bucks an hour, you can get a virtual assistant to spread that across all these channels that you want.
Well, okay, so here's my secret strategy. And so I'm going to tell the world now. My secret strategy is I'm doing all these interviews. Now, YouTube transcribes them for me. So I've got
Yep.
this interview uninterrupted, which will be a long form interview. And then we'll probably cut up some what we call short longs. So they'll be like 3, 5, 7 minute clips. And those will be blogs. So everything will be a blog that it can be an article on X or on LinkedIn or wherever. Put it on if we want to do Reddit, whatever. Put it on the blog as well. So all of a sudden we have the YouTube, then we have it on our website, and so we have a ton of content about this topic that's going to be shared over and over again. And to your point about being hard or easy, well, if you think about it, well, this interview is going to go on full length. There it is. But you're going to say things in this interview that's going to be worth a 3, 5, 7 minute clip. Well, that's a unique blog with a different long tail keyword. And so maybe so that's how we're thinking about it. Is that the right way to think about it?
Perfect. Now, who's actually going and publishing this? 'Cause that
We
seems
are.
overwhelming to a lot of business owners.
Okay,
Like
so
you
yeah.
personally, or you have
Well,
someone on your team?
so my team is me, well, okay, so my offer, let's talk about my offer. So you can slap me around here a little bit. My offer is I run a cohort, and that's led by other experts, right? So they're actually the experts that lead this process, and so it's not really working with Ryan; it's working with them for this process. Because in the exit world, simple changes can lead to hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars. So you want to hear from the best people on how to do these changes, and then understand how long it takes to make them. So, for instance, if you have a business that's owner led, owner dependent, and you just write a SOP and say, tomorrow we're going to market and we're not doing this anymore, buyers aren't going to buy that. They're like, oh, well, cool, you got the SOP, but show me how long this is in place. Or if customer concentration is the issue, they want to see over time that works. So some things are long, some things are short, depends on what it is. The workflow is to record these. My team, which is my two oldest kids, they go in and they're in there right now editing stuff and cutting it up, right? And then they put it in the folder, and then it gets put up to YouTube. YouTube does the transcribing, right? And then the next step iteration of the workflow is to get YouTube or Gemini, not YouTube, Gemini or ChatGPT or Claude to help format that as a blog, and then to build out the web page because we have that. It's not published, but it's out there. And then all of a sudden put that on X, put it on LinkedIn, and all of a sudden it's out there over and over again. And the thing I think a lot of owners are afraid of is, people, if they listen to this, they might go, oh, Brad doesn't know what he's talking about. It's okay. You want people to, because you can't nuance every little thing, right? You just never can. But some people will go, oh, that's what I need to hear, right? And that's what you're trying to do is just get people that like the way you present stuff. As long as you're being honest and giving the best you can, people like that and respect it. Some people will disagree. I see people, you mentioned Hormozy. They hate Hormozy, everything he puts out. I'm like, well, guys, if you listen to Hormozy, what he actually says is, you don't have to do what I do. Do what you want to do. He does say that. People will just ignore that. And they say, well, Hormozy's preaching hustle culture. It's like, well, he's saying if you want to get to where he is, that's what you have to do. And so they kind of miss that nuance. For the
Exactly.
people who like his stuff, they go, oh, well, he didn't say I have to do this. And so that fear of people hating you, but you do kind of need some haters to grow, it seems like.
For sure. And I like how you said your kids do it. Not everyone has is lucky enough to have the kids, old enough to be able to do that. But just to wrap that last part up is you can go on a software like Upwork or Fiverr and hire a virtual assistant to do all this dirty work for you. Because when you are ready to sell, correct me if I'm wrong, having a marketing automated and doing all this marketing for your brand is going to increase your value, right?
Yeah. It will. You know, this is where nuance comes in because what we try to advertise is how to get premium buyers to come after you.
Mm,
And it's weird because it sounds counterintuitive, but if you go after, I don't like picking on other people, so I'll just use Cody Sanchez. I'm not picking on her, but she will talk a lot about 100% owner financing. And that's fine for some buyers, cool. But what we're trying to tell owners is if you're attracting those buyers, either A, you don't know that there's other options out there, so maybe that's all you think's available. Okay, cool. But if you build a premium company, there's companies who instead of paying a 3x multiple will pay a 4x multiple because it's safer for them. So they'll pay you more money because you've built the company outright. So all of these levers that you can pull make your company more valuable, which sounds counterintuitive. Wait, so they're gonna pay me more money for my company? Yes, if you do it right, they will, and it makes it makes the process a lot better in a lot of ways. And so you got to figure out where you're going to be at. But so if marketing is automated, then absolutely, because if it's dependent on the founder, the owner to do it all, then yeah, if that person dies, gets sick, gets tired, what happens? It goes away, right? And that's what you're talking about earlier with your stuff. You're going away from the personal brand to the company brand.
exactly. And when I was had my business for sale, they it was 80% cash offer, and 3.5x multiple. And the number one reason it was a little bit higher than a normal agency was because our advertising, we had a proven system to bring in customers. That was like the number one thing besides the personal branding. Personal branding heard it, the advertising and the marketing automated to where they knew if they bought the business, they would still get 20 new customers a month, right? And if you don't have those ads in place to know for sure that this is how many posts are going out, this is how many ads are going out, and we're getting exactly 20 customers for this, that value is insane, which you obviously already know that.
Well, yeah, I've got a video right now I just worked on recurring revenue, and predictability is one of the things that buyers like. They want to know it's predictable. So 20 new clients a month, they know that. And then you factor in your churn, your LTV. It's like, oh, okay, now we know what we're buying versus going to zero every month and going, we've got to get X amount of leads because X amount of leads convert. We got to do it every month. It's like, well, that is somewhat predictable, but it doesn't feel as good as saying we've got 20 customers and we keep 15 of them, and each month, like that's a growth, that's a compound growth, and so buyers
Yep.
love that. So if your marketing system's dialed in and you factor in recurring, all of a sudden you really have something valuable.
Yep, for sure. And then, for me, the last thing now is I kind of talked about a lot of founders don't want to get on YouTube and make these
Mm-hmm.
videos. And I really like ChatGPT for that. They just released that they're coming out with ChatGPT ads in a few weeks. That is going to be like, you might not remember 2002 when Google ads started. You could get 1,000 people for like 5 cents. Same thing when Facebook ads started. You could get 100 people for $1, right? So it's kind of, we're about to be, and we're transitioning our whole business just for that because you don't have to show your face in a ChatGPT ad. It's a product, it's a search, it's your blog. You don't have to be on your video camera, which is pretty cool.
Okay, so I have some questions about ChatGPT ads, but before we get there, is there ways like what's the best practices? You mentioned kind of backlinks. Is there other things that owners should be doing today to make sure that their company is appearing in ChatGPT without running ads?
Yes. So interlinking every piece of content. So when you make a YouTube video and it has that description for you, make sure that links to the blog. On your blog, make sure that links to your X article. On your X article, make sure that links to your YouTube video, right? So you need all of your links linking all these channels together because what they're looking for is that domain authority, social signals, it's called. And if they're not linked together, they don't know you're all the same company. So what we do is we just basically draw a circle, and every single post, there's 12 of them that we do. Google My Business, Pinterest, LinkedIn, X, YouTube. We'll have to put this in a bullet point. um, you know, Reddit, Substack, a podcast. Like you could even be turning these into a podcast. My virtual assistant does the audio for me. And then each one links together in like a circle. And then when ChatGPT says, oh, who's the best person to run YouTube ads, right? It knows that I have 12 different signals that it's going to pick up on. Versus my competitor that might only just have one signal. So once you link all those signals together, that's when it builds up the authority.
Yeah, and this is so important because when you're saying that, there's objections that come to my mind. And the objection is, oh, well, if you put a link in your Twitter post, Twitter is going to hurt engagement because it's going to take you off platform. And I think Grok, I asked the other day because I was thinking about writing an article. It's like, yeah, there is some evidence for that. It's okay. But going back to what you said earlier, okay, instead of getting the Gary Vee numbers, we get the Ryan Ray numbers, the Brad Smith numbers. Like, okay, well, those numbers, if we understand how many customers we need each month to grow our business or sustain our business at least, then we don't need necessarily to go viral. And also, we have to be cognizant of, I don't know if you had, I know if I had 1 million people wanted to hire me tomorrow, I'd be in trouble. Like, even though I run a cohort style
Yep.
business, I would be in trouble. Like, they probably wouldn't want to pay for that. And so,
Yep.
you do really got to find your numbers and go, okay, well, I need to get this many clients to make sure the business thrives. And once you understand these metrics, like then you start reverse engineering it. And so much of this is, um, it's just a game. It's just a game you're playing, and you got to understand the rules of the game and how to play the game. But that element of how many customers do you need really informs your decisions because, as you said earlier, your best leads come from YouTube, but your average YouTube video is not doing 500,000 views a video, is it?
Nope. Couple hundred
Couple hundred, right? It's so, but that's all you need.
of my ideal perfect customer.
Yeah, yeah. And how long?
That's all you
How
need.
long did it take you to get to that spot?
I'm going on 10 years now on YouTube.
Wow. Okay, so
So,
I'm way behind.
yeah.
I'm way behind on YouTube.
You can see my plaque right here
Yeah, there it is.
107,000
Yeah, yeah,
subscribers.
yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, so you're yeah.
But
I got
it's
a long way to go on YouTube.
the investment is totally worth it. Out of
No,
all
yeah,
channels, I would just do YouTube.
yeah. Well, and
If I
that's
could,
you
if
know
I needed to.
yeah. My focus this year is YouTube and LinkedIn. That's my two main focuses. I've tried Instagram stuff. it's like I don't really think owners are really going to transition over. They might, but YouTube, LinkedIn are kind of my main things. I still post on X and stuff like that, but that's really going to be my two big platforms. I sell B2B. What are your thoughts on YouTube's number one? What is number two for you?
It was LinkedIn, but now it's X. But it's
Is
wherever you like spending your time, and then as long as you are helping other people first, that will pay you back. If I just posted on X and logged out, it probably wouldn't be my favorite and best channel, right?
yeah.
But I like being on X and I like supporting others. Every time I see you post, I give it a like.
Mm-hmm.
And now you see that I liked a lot of your posts,
Well,
So
now that you
my
said that, I
ideal
got you.
customer sees that I'm supporting them.
Okay, I got you pulled up here, so I'm gonna go like some of your posts. So I return the favor.
There you go.
Okay.
There you go.
Um,
Yeah, so it's
okay. So
if you
go
just
ahead.
post
Yeah.
something and log out, that's where we now have a team that does that for me. I say,
Yeah.
hey, these are my friends. These are our ideal customers. Go support them on these social
Mm-hmm.
channels on
Mm-hmm.
automation links. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so you're using a branded account on X, Twitter, whatever we call it, to go engage as well.
exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So
And
let's
then
let's
now it's
go ahead.
don't DM me. I used to say DM me, and
Mm-hmm.
now it's don't DM me. Reach out to my team at Automation Links.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so I still have the personal brand, but if I want to sell it, I got to do it that way, right?
Well, and it sounds counterintuitive because as owners, we want people to talk to us, but um, and the reality is we just want the solution. We just want the
Yep.
solution. So if Brad has to give it to me or Tom or Jane, it doesn't matter. I just want the solution. And if I feel
Yeah.
comfortable that they can do it, I will pay them for it. I don't need to talk to any particular person
Yep.
as long as I feel like they can do the solution. And so, and this goes into any area of life. It's just that as owners of companies, we think, oh man, I've got to be the person to handle this. But when I get a new iPhone, I don't call up Tim Cook or I get on Amazon. I want like, hey, Bezos, fix this for me. Like, I just need the person to fix it. I don't care who it is. Just get it fixed. And so, yeah. So I think that small businesses, we feel the pressure of people coming to us, but we don't realize that people just want solutions. That's all they really want, and they want the
Yep.
person who can do it for them. Okay, so you've teased it a little bit. ChatGPT ads. What's coming? I saw something about this. I don't know, this week. Maybe it was last week. Anyways, what's coming? Why are you so pumped about it?
So we've transitioned this year our business model from an agency to a software. And the software manages ads for people so they don't have to spend so much. Well, we are releasing the ChatGPT ads feature to where somebody can log in and run ChatGPT ads. Why is this important? I mentioned it Google ads in 2002, Facebook ads. When something's new, you don't have competition. And when you don't have competition, you don't have to pay hardly anything. And it was your point on YouTube. I would totally do YouTube ads if I only pay if somebody watches past a certain point. Well, with ChatGPT ads, you have to pay more if somebody's outbidding you. So if I'm on there competing with Google, Google's obviously going to pay way more than I'm able to pay. But if Google's not even on there and I'm the only one in my industry, I pay pennies. And you only have to pay if they click on your solution. And the biggest bottleneck is if I run Facebook ads, I have to have all these creatives, I have to have images, I got to get videos made and all this stuff. You don't have to do anything for ChatGPT. You are just the one answering the question with text. And so millions of views, pennies per view. You don't have to spend time on creatives. You just are the person that runs an ad that answers the ideal question. And how it's going to be is if somebody says, hey, how do I set up YouTube ads? I can run an ad that says, here's how you set up YouTube ads. And so think about you and your brain, right? If what's that ideal search I want to show up for when my ideal customer searches for it? How do I sell my business? And all of a sudden, you're the number one sponsored post saying this is exactly how you're selling your business. And you only have to pay pennies for that. Now, it's not going to be pennies for long. People are going to catch on. But for this next year, the pricing is going to be so low that you'll be able to scale a business just running those ads.
Okay, so you
I'm
mentioned
excited, by the
Google.
way.
Oh yeah, I'm excited hearing you talk about it. So you mentioned Google and Facebook. We talked about that. With those platforms, you can go to the back end and kind of see what people are searching for. So does OpenAI have a way for you guys or for me to go see? Because I can think, well, how to sell my business, and I could type it in there, but sometimes I might go, actually, owners, when they go to sell, it might be too late for them. So I want to get them then, but I also want to get them before. So, like, if I want to figure out what they're typing, does OpenAI have that data available so that you can see what people are actually, prompting in the ChatGPT screen?
So that's what we're building in our software. So when you log in and work with automation links, we're going to tell you exactly how to set up your ad and which keywords to put in there for what people are searching for. So we know based on common searches from Google, ChatGPT's been selling our data, even though they say they haven't been. We know those search terms they're called, and we know how to set those up. It's not even live yet, so I don't know if they will have that. I'm sure they will have some estimates for us once we're in there, but it needs to be based on what our customer's searching for, not what ChatGPT says. So you, just like you said, ChatGPT
Yeah.
might say how to sell the business, but you're like, no, 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 that's not my ideal customer. My ideal customer actually would search for this, and that's where the true gold is.
Yeah. And to your point about OpenAI selling the data. This isn't a political comment. I would say this is, if it was right or left, it doesn't matter. But we've seen the news about the tariffs might be overturned, and I just have, and the news keeps getting delayed, and I'm like, I just have to wonder if the judges are like, "Hey, CEO Tom, yeah, we're going to overturn them. Get ready," And so even though
Yep.
for us it's not available, you just have to assume that big corporations are doing, look over here while we do something over here, and so they have the data, and it only makes sense that they sell the data at some point. And that's how Facebook started out, right? Facebook acted like it was this, to connect and social networking and talking. Well, now it's a huge, it's just a marketing platform. That's really all it is. And you are the person that they're trying to get someone to pay an ad to run in front of. That's all. That's all it is. And so ChatGPT, can they make money off of what is it, $20 a month for ads? I mean, subscriptions right now? Probably not. And so ads make a ton of sense. That's everything goes to ads. That's how it is.
Yeah, these companies, I mean, TikTok did it best. Google even did it. Google makes all their money. Google is so profitable that they can offer Gemini, they can offer all these things to outbeat everyone because they make so much money from selling our data and selling ads. Same for TikTok. They made all their money by selling our address and our phone number and exactly what we're searching for and ads. Facebook, even X, even LinkedIn, they only make their money from data and ads. That's their number one revenue. So of course, ChatGPT is going that route. I think they partnered with Apple a year ago to start with this data collection stuff. So ChatGPT's core business and how they're going to be profitable is selling what we search for. Brad Smith searched for this on a Blackstone grill. They're going to sell that to Blackstone, and they're going to run ads and text me all day. And then they're going to say an ad, and we're going to make money off ads as well because we have millions of people using it.
And one thing I do wonder about is with ChatGPT right now, they do a good job of, you ask a question, it gives you an answer, and then it says, "Oh, do you want me to do this or tell you this?" Or it's built in to keep engaging the platform. I do wonder at some point if that, with the ad model, if it would be like, "Oh, you asked about the best type of beef to buy. Do you want to know about the best type of beef that goes on the Blackstone grill?" Because it's a sneaky way to get the ad in there. So they've, because
For
I will
sure.
ask it questions and it's like, "Oh, we're doing this." I'm like, no, no, I wasn't asking about that at all. I just wanted to know this answer. And so if they're rolling out
Yep.
ads, I suspect that part of that will be, they've already conditioned you to expect them to ask a question to keep engaging, that the ad will, not the ad per se, but the prompt to get you to the ad will be baked into the system.
Well, I mean, it's competition ads. Every ad platform has it. The
Yep.
easiest one is just let's just use shoes. What's the latest Adidas shoes, like men's shoes? And the first ad that will show up will be a Nike shoe.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I don't know if Google has this, you might know, but ChatGPT, I'm sure, if they I'm thinking through this here as you're saying this, so tell me if I'm stupid, but if you go, I want a running shoe, and then you buy it from an ad or from a link on their platform, and then they know that customers that buy that shoe within, we'll say 6 months, 6 months buy another shoe, it's quite possible that they will feed that type of data as well to Adidas or whoever it is, going, "Okay, hey, Brad just bought a shoe 6 months ago. The data says he's going to be looking soon. Do you want to start putting those that messaging in there as well. So because they have that kind of information already.
100%. Yep.
Yeah. So
And
it's about to get
so
wild. You're
that
saying.
it's about to get wild. And like as an example, what we're going to do for us and recommend our clients do is find 3 to 5 things you know your ideal customer is searching for, and run some ads on those. It's not going to be a lot at first, $5 a day or something. So you show up and you get that customer before your competition does. And also there'll be retargeting. So anyone that comes to my website, when they log into ChatGPT, they will see my ad because I know that they already were on my website. They already watched my YouTube videos. And every time they log into ChatGPT, they're going to see automation links.
Okay. So if I'm hearing this, I've worried a lot about SEO over the years. I'm just making this up. I haven't, but if I have, I've worried about SEO. Is this SEO going away? Does it change? What are your thoughts on that?
So you're exactly what you're doing with the videos. I think YouTube videos are the best SEO because of how you're repurposing it. And it's more social signals than SEO now.
Okay.
So it's just having that brand name on every channel and helping answer questions. So SEO, as in like a long blog post, no one cares. But SEO is in I'm answering a specific question on every channel. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Well, as this rolls out, man, I've got to get you back on. Now, just so we'll pull the curtain
Yep.
back here. Brad's been nice enough to come on before this is publicly being talked about. So when this goes live, you will get to hear this. But Brad's already working on this, and so he's done a lot of prep work. So thank you for pulling the curtain back, and then we won't release this until you've told us to. But
Cool.
but I'm so excited. So 6 months, a year from now, I'd love to get you back on to hear how this is, because if you're an owner and you're trying to build a valuable business, and the key here for owners is to understand that new revenue doesn't always translate day one. It has to be sustainable, predictable, stuff like that. So you can go get these ads and then have a bunch of money come into your bank account, but a buyer is going to go, well, how do you maintain that? So this is a play to get you there, and then you got to figure out how to keep it recurring and predictable, stuff like that. But this is something, as I'm interpreting this, okay, you mentioned 2002. I was still in high school then, so okay, I graduated in '03. So I'm familiar, but not, not
Yes.
not not as well as you are. But this is something that can be a launching point, because once you start getting in new customers, it's not just ChatGPT, it's word of mouth referrals, right? I've got clients come in from word of mouth referrals. And so expanding your base and getting people to talk about you organically and saying, oh, hire Brad because he's good at this, is worth a ton of money. And so this is a way to help you get to that next level, and then keep running those ads and keep growing. But then you will see second and third level clients come, because someone who doesn't use ChatGPT was told by someone who did find you on ChatGPT to hire you, and it's like, oh, they forgot even how they found you. Great, and so I'm super excited about this. So yeah, I want to do a follow up in a few months, 6 months or whatever it is,
We have to.
uh, to hear how this is going, because this could be wild.
I've got a good number for everyone. That I talk about the rule of 7 follow-ups. Well, now it's 24 times somebody has to see you on 3 platforms. So before they remember and trust you. So now my ideal customer finds me from ChatGPT. Then they see my YouTube video. Then they get an email from me. Then they see me again and again and again. And over those 1 to 3 months, okay, yes, it's time to exit. Call Ryan because I've seen you that many times. So sounds like a lot. It is a lot of work. Set aside a little bit of time or a little bit of money for somebody to help you with this. I think it's huge payoffs.
It is, and on that, I think that I'm not the best speaker, I'm not the best looking person in the world. If you know the numbers that you need to grow your business, then those metrics become kind of vanity metrics. Oh, they're going to hire someone who looks super swole and look hormosy and all this stuff. Well, some people want that, but some people don't, right? But you have to understand where your numbers actually are to grow your business. And if you don't, then you get caught up in all these other things. But if someone sees me, to your point, you know, 5, 6, 7, 10, 24 times. Well, there's something that's kind of implied there, is that they like seeing me, right? Because otherwise they'll
Yeah.
say, no, I don't dislike, don't show me this again. They will go away. They're like, no, I don't want to hear this
Yeah.
person. If they do like me, they're going to hit the like or leave a comment, or, YouTube will keep showing them stuff. And the final thing I'll say about YouTube is I was doing some research last year on some pricing stuff. And so I was pricing there's divorce coaches. I didn't even know that existed. And so I looked up divorce coaches. I was just curious, like, what the offer was. And so then YouTube started showing me all this divorce coaching stuff. And I was like, sweetie, I'm not looking to get a divorce. If you come off and you see this, I was just doing some research. But that's how powerful YouTube is. And so ChatGPT ads
Yeah,
are going to be the same way, right? Because it's going to know, okay, hey, this person's looking for this. They engage with it. We got to show them some more because I was watching the videos to figure out how they're positioning themselves. And so I wasn't wanting to offer that.
yeah,
I was just curious how they structured their packages. And so, anyways, so
that's
okay,
great.
Brad, where can people connect with you and your team at?
Automationlinks.com. Want to just encourage everyone just to sign up for our software. You can get signed up and start seeing all these search terms that you could be doing. Like we break it down every day. This is what you should post every day to rank on ChatGPT. So just feel free to go sign up there, and you'll be getting some videos from me showing you how to do it.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. It was good to connect and to learn. This is I'm so excited about this because I try to stress to my kids like they don't realize how wild it is right now. And so maybe
Yeah.
it will continue to be wild. Maybe it won't. I don't know how much longer the wildest factor of this era will be before this becomes norm. But it is truly wild right now, and so it's really exciting. So thank you for your time today,
It
man.
is. Hey, appreciate you having me on. And now I have a great referral if someone wants to sell.
There we go.